Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. With those words, a seismic shift occurred in the landscape of radio broadcasting. The year was 1938, and the world was about to experience a Halloween like no other. Orson Welles, a name forever etched in the annals of broadcasting history, had taken the helm of the Mercury Theatre on the air. The show that night, an adaptation of H.G. Wells's classic novel The War of the Worlds. The broadcast was unique, its format ingenious. It was not just a simple narration of the novel, it was a cleverly designed simulation of a real-life Martian invasion, with news bulletins interrupting regular programming. The audience was left on the edge of their seats, hearts pounding as they tuned into the unfolding chaos. Thus began an evening that would go down in history as one of the most infamous in the annals of radio broadcasting. As the broadcast continued, listeners were treated to a series of increasingly alarming news bulletins. The calm evening of October 30th, 1938, was about to take an unexpected turn. The unexpected was about to become the norm, and an ordinary evening of radio programming would soon become an unforgettable night of terror for many. To begin, the program was periodically interrupted by seemingly innocent news bulletins reporting unusual explosions on Mars. These reports, unassuming in nature, gradually began to create a subtle undertone of unease. The radio waves, usually filled with the comforting hum of music and light entertainment, were now punctuated by these strange interstellar reports. Then, in a twist that no listener could have anticipated, the broadcast reported an unknown object falling on a farm in Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Suddenly, the distant cosmic phenomena had a tangible presence right here on Earth. It was a clever narrative shift, expertly executed, designed to keep the listeners on the edge of their seats. As the broadcast progressed, the sense of unease turned into outright panic. A correspondent reporting live from Grover's Mill described creatures emerging from what was evidently an alien spacecraft. Local officials, attempting to extend a peaceful hand, approached the aliens waving a flag of truce. But the creatures responded with hostility, incinerating the officials and others nearby with a heat ray. The correspondent described the scene in a panic until the audio feed abruptly went dead. The unthinkable had happened. The peaceful Earth was under attack from extraterrestrial beings. The broadcast didn't stop there. It continued with a rapid series of news updates detailing the beginning of a devastating alien invasion and the military's futile efforts to stop it. The listeners, already on high alert, now found themselves in the midst of a full-blown crisis. The broadcast painted a vivid picture of giant Martian war machines, releasing clouds of poison smoke, citizens fleeing in panic, and correspondents coughing and falling silent. The narrative was relentless, and the tension was palpable. The absence of commercial breaks added to the sense of urgency and realism. The first break in the drama came only after all of the alarming news reports had taken place. It was a masterstroke of storytelling, an unparalleled exercise in suspense and terror. By this point, the broadcast had taken an iron grip on the imagination of its listeners. The lines between fiction and reality were so expertly blurred that many found themselves convinced that the world was under attack from Mars. The broadcast had accomplished its goal. It had created an atmosphere of terror and uncertainty that was palpable, even in the safety of the listeners' homes. The broadcast's ability to evoke such a strong emotional response was a testament to its power and effectiveness. It transformed an ordinary radio program into a riveting tale of alien invasion, effortlessly manipulating the emotions of its listeners and turning a calm evening into a night of terror. By the time the broadcast took its first break, many listeners were convinced that the world was under attack from Mars. But little did they know, the best was yet to come. The broadcast was far from over, and the real drama was only just beginning. The War of the Worlds was underway, and it was about to leave a lasting impact on the world of broadcasting and the public's perception of reality. In homes across America, the broadcast was causing a stir. This was no ordinary radio drama. As Orson Welles' voice echoed through living rooms, kitchens, and bedrooms, people began to feel a chill creep up their spines. The vivid descriptions of Martian creatures and their devastating machines of war were deeply unsettling. Ordinary citizens, engrossed in the broadcast, found themselves swept up in the narrative, their imaginations painting pictures of extraterrestrial invaders and the end of life as they knew it. The panic was palpable, the lines between fiction and reality blurred. Some listeners, believing the broadcast was a genuine news bulletin, reacted with genuine fear. Their hearts pounded in their chests, their palms turned sweaty, and their minds raced with thoughts of impending doom. The Martians were coming, and there was nothing they could do about it. In the face of this perceived threat, people did what they thought was necessary to protect themselves and their loved ones. Calls flooded into law enforcement agencies and emergency services. People reported seeing strange lights in the sky. Others claimed to have seen the Martian invaders themselves. There were stories of people packing their belongings and fleeing their homes, hoping to escape the Martian onslaught. In the midst of this chaos, the confusion only grew. Some listeners, tuning in late to the broadcast, missed the crucial context that this was a dramatization, a work of fiction. Without this knowledge, their fear and confusion only amplified. Rumors spread like wildfire, each more terrifying than the last. Tales of Martian war machines and the destruction they wrought filled the air. Every new report, every panicked phone call added fuel to the growing hysteria. The fear was contagious, and it spread through communities, towns, and cities. In some places, the panic reached fever pitch. There were reports of traffic jams as people tried to flee, of fights breaking out over resources, of people praying in the streets for salvation. It was as if the end of the world had arrived, not with a bang, but with a radio broadcast. And yet, amidst the fear and panic, there was also a sense of unity. In the face of what they believed to be a common enemy, people came together. Neighbors comforted each other, families huddled together, communities rallied. It was a testament to the human spirit, a reminder of our ability to band together in times of crisis. As the hours ticked by, the panic began to subside. Slowly but surely, the truth began to emerge. The War of the Worlds was not a news bulletin, but a radio drama. The Martians were not invading, and the world was not ending. It was all a performance, a Halloween prank that had perhaps gone too far. But the impact of the broadcast was undeniable. The War of the Worlds had successfully convinced some of its listeners that a Martian invasion was taking place. It was a testament to the power of storytelling, the magic of radio, and the enduring allure of the unknown. When the dust settled, the reality of the situation became clear. It was the morning after October 31st, 1938, a day that would forever be etched in the annals of broadcasting history. The citizens of America woke up to the stark realization that they had been tricked by a simple radio drama. The War of the Worlds, directed and narrated by the creative genius, Orson Welles. As the sun dawned on that fateful day, the fear and panic that had gripped the nation the night before started to dissipate. The Martian invasion, the horrifying war machines, the devastating heat rays, all of it was nothing more than a captivating story. The aftermath of this realization was a mix of relief, embarrassment, and anger. A feeling of relief washed over the public as they understood that their loved ones were safe, their homes intact, and their world was not, in fact, under attack by extraterrestrial beings. The fear that had been so palpable, so real, was now replaced by a collective sigh of relief. But along with relief came embarrassment. The people had been duped. The breaking news format of the radio drama had been so convincing that many had believed an actual Martian invasion was underway. The absence of commercial breaks further compounded the illusion of realism. The embarrassment was not just personal, it was collective. The nation as a whole had fallen for a Halloween trick, a piece of fiction delivered so convincingly that it blurred the lines between reality and imagination. And then there was anger. The public was furious at being tricked, at being made to believe that their world was ending. The anger was not just directed at Orson Welles and the Mercury Theatre on the air, but also at the CBS Radio Network that had aired the broadcast. There was a sense of betrayal, a feeling that the trust of the listeners had been violated. This anger was not just confined to the listeners who had tuned into the broadcast, but also extended to those who had heard about the mass panic and chaos caused by the radio drama. The public's response to being duped was swift and decisive. There was an outpouring of criticism against the creators of the radio drama and the network that broadcast it. They were accused of irresponsible broadcasting and of playing with the emotions of the public. The controversy sparked by the broadcast was not just limited to public opinion, it also reached the corridors of power, leading to calls for stricter regulation of broadcasting standards. The aftermath of the War of the Worlds broadcast was a watershed moment in broadcasting history. It not only highlighted the power of the medium, but also underscored the responsibility that came with it. It served as a reminder that with great power comes great responsibility. The damage was done, and the outcry was immediate and far-reaching. The War of the Worlds broadcast had left an indelible mark on the psyche of the American public. It was a Halloween trick that was too real, too terrifying, and its aftershocks would be felt for years to come. In the days following the broadcast, the media and public figures didn't hold back their criticism. The nation was abuzz, not just about the fictional Martian invasion, but about the actual invasion of trust that had taken place on the airwaves that Halloween night in 1938. Newspapers, radio stations, and public figures expressed widespread outrage. The public had been duped, and they were not silent about it. The news bulletin format of the War of the Worlds broadcast was particularly under fire. Critics claimed that it was deceptive, that it blurred the lines between fiction and reality. This wasn't just a radio play, they argued, but an experiment in fear, masquerading as breaking news. The Mercury Theatre on the air had not only failed to interrupt their broadcast with commercials, but they had also failed to remind listeners throughout the program that what they were hearing was pure fiction. This, the critics argued, was a breach of trust that could not go unchecked. But the outrage didn't stop at mere criticism. There were calls for action, for regulation. The Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, was thrust into the spotlight, faced with the task of ensuring such a deception could never happen again. Public figures and everyday citizens alike demanded that the FCC step in to regulate the airwaves, to set standards and practices that would protect the public from being misled. Some even called for legal action against Orson Welles and the Mercury Theatre on the air. They argued that the panic and chaos incited by the broadcast was not just unethical, but potentially illegal. They wanted accountability. They wanted someone to answer for the fear that had gripped the nation that fateful night. The War of the Worlds broadcast had ignited a debate that would shape the future of broadcasting. It sparked conversations about the power of the media, about the responsibility that comes with that power, and about how to prevent the misuse of that power in the future. And it left us with a question that still lingers today. Where do we draw the line between entertainment and deception? Decades later, the War of the Worlds broadcast still holds a unique place in broadcasting history. This singular event, unfolding on the eve of Halloween in 1938, is more than just a tale of a radio drama gone awry. It is a testament to the power of storytelling, the influence of media, and the blurred lines between fiction and reality. The broadcast left an indelible mark on the radio landscape. It showcased the power of the medium, demonstrating how radio could captivate an audience, stir emotions, and even incite panic. It was a sobering reminder of the weight of the broadcaster's responsibility, a lesson not lost on future generations of broadcasters. The War of the Worlds broadcast also had a profound influence on the style of future programming. The use of a breaking news format to narrate a fictional story was groundbreaking. It set a precedent, inspiring a new wave of immersive storytelling techniques that remain prevalent in today's media, from radio to television to online content. Moreover, the broadcast spurred critical conversations about media regulation. It highlighted the potential for misuse, leading to calls for greater oversight and accountability in broadcasting. This incident played a significant role in shaping the future of media regulation, setting the stage for the policies and practices we see today. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the War of the Worlds broadcast is the lessons it imparts about human nature and our relationship with media. It underscores our susceptibility to misinformation and the ease with which panic can spread in the face of uncertainty. It reminds us of the importance of critical thinking and the need for media literacy in an age of information overload. And so, the War of the Worlds broadcast remains a potent reminder of the power of media and the fine line between fiction and reality. As we navigate our increasingly interconnected world, these lessons from the past continue to resonate, reminding us of the profound impact media can have on our perception of the world around us.